Good evening. Good evening to everyone. Now, principal was talking of us reaching those refugee settlement to impact those people with the knowledge of permaculture principles and methodologies of how to produce the food, access to the people. But now our challenge is, yes, we have gotten now the skills and knowledge that we have acquired from the knowledge, from the training. But now, how I, a person from Eastern region, I've got that interest of giving out the knowledge and the experience and the skills and the principles that I've acquired from the PDC class to go to a place like Kakuma, Southern Sudan. I've got a challenge of the transportation system and then the identification system, that I really am a person that have come from sector 39. My effort here is to give you this and this and this and this, or to share this and this to you, such that the community will come to know how to get knowledge of food security, how they can produce, how they can implement the principles and the tools of permaculture. I don't know how sector 39 and the admin leader will arrange that for a person like me who is willing to leave my home to go and impact that knowledge to those people. Thank you.
Yes, Simon, thank you. And the answer to that is, well, we're going to explore that as a theme as we go forward. And there's different ways in which we all might be able to contribute. Whether it is physically traveling there, or maybe we facilitate visits from people there to come and see other projects, or obviously we use the internet and so forth. But firstly, just to say, Simon, you are learning and having direct experience by working there with these ideas in your community. That knowledge then becomes an asset that other people can really benefit from. And that's how we achieve that is going to be, we've got to do some planning and problem solving. But we can see there that there's something of great value, and the achievements of TAPA, and you've built networks, you've seen what worked, you've had some challenges in other areas. All of this is your lessons that you're learning, and the Academy network is going to be stronger and better if we can benefit from your experiences. That's for sure. So thank you for those comments. Thank you, and you're fully getting where I'm going. Really, that's great. Anyone else that would like to contribute? Or I can carry on. Oh, Caroline.
Yeah, actually, you're right, because what happened when I attended my first PDC in 2021 November, and Paul actually facilitated on that PDC for the world, and it was an eye-opener for me, because there were less women, very few, maybe 5. And when I was one of the few who attended the whole course throughout and followed it. So it was like a light bulb just, lit in my mind. And I was like, this thing is so useful. It's so useful. And I was like, this would impact mama's lives differently, because you would have less work to do once your systems are established, and it would make life that much easier for the mamas. So I remember the first thing was like, how can I spread this gospel around where I live? I've been a gender activist all my life. I was like, this would be an answer to a lot of the women's issues, food and nutrition security, and you could also earn, especially from the food forest, you know. So I started teaching this to the local women, and I'm saying it's been very satisfying. In fact, the PDC that ended like maybe 3 weeks ago, this particular lot of women are very, very inspiring. In their weekly meetings, because I could not take all the women because of resources. So in the weekly meetings, the ones who were there, all the women who attended, you are told to facilitate, to stand up and share with the class, share with the group what you learned, the new thing that you learned, because you went for training for 10 days. So they want to know, what did you leave that place with, And they have started doing the mandala gardens, the raised beds, the kitchen gardens. And I think for me, I'm very happy about that, because if I taught like 30 women and they are doing all this, they go back to their homes and they're doing all these crazy things, the other people will be like, their neighbors, wherever they come from, will be like, oh, we want to see, what are these crazy things you people are doing? What's the difference? And I can imagine that we'll be able to, change a lot of lives, a lot of people's thinking, and we'll also address climate change issues, because that is basically what we are trying to do with all these food forest things. Because we are telling the mamas that you don't have to cut down trees in order to grow your food. Incorporate the trees into your system. They play a role. So I'm so excited, and at the same time, right now, I want to start working with children, because when you give children some 10, 20 trees, fruit trees together with the indigenous trees, the children will spend most of their time taking care of these trees. If it is during the dry season, I'm sure they will water the trees, And once they water the trees and take care of them, they'll be very protective. And in that way, I believe the forest cover, like in my part of Kenya, the forest cover is under 2%. I believe using the children as change agents, I think I'll succeed. Thank you.
That's great. Yeah. Okay. Well, should we do we? Yeah, Deborah. Hi, Deborah. Please. We're not hearing you.
Yes, this is from sorry, are you? Yes. I was also wanted to contribute on the side. I heard you talking about the refugees. Yes, refugees are there. I've been talking with Andrew and from Kaguma. So like Simon contributed, how can we reach those people from the refugee camps? I wanted to contribute, but it is like we are the team, we are developing a team. We have been sharing on our knowledge and skills on the permaculture approach. So now, like planning for impacting the refugees, we as the team are the people to come together to plan how we can reach our neighbors. Because like me, when I completed my PDC, the first thing was I developed a worker plan. But how am I going to start to reach my neighbors? Because permaculture says, first of all, it starts with you, your family. So first of all, I started to plan with my family. How can I start this? How can I reach my children? Like Simon has not attended a PDC. This is the first time Simon to attend a PDC. Now I can ask him as my younger child that as per now, how many members have you impacted in your community before we reach to the refugee camps? Like me, I've been moving around more than even 5 groups, because the first time I reached one group of 80 members, of which I didn't introduce them much to the Tapa group before I formed the 5 ones. That's what I'd also wanted to contribute. But before we start, we needed to plan as a group, as a team, not only sector 39, but as the permaculturists. We needed to organize ourselves to plan well. But how can we reach our brothers outside there, the refugee camps? So thank you everyone for listening.
Caroline, if you want to come back, please.
Yes, I want to tell Deborah, because she's very elusive. She's always, I think, working. You know, she's one of Deborah. You're one of the people that I really look up to when I see your work, and I'm hoping one day, sooner rather than later, I shall be able to pay you a visit. You really inspire me, Deborah. Thank you so much.
Okay, hearing. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for that, Caroline, and I really agree. One of the things that we got from Stella's research when she did some feedback visits was many of the trainees had said they would like more training. They would like to visit other people's places to see examples, and they always need tools and seeds. And I've thought about the visits, and that cross pollination is so powerful. When I've come over on my trips recently, I've always tried to, bring people together from different areas. We took Deborah to Kenya to see Paul and how he was doing his thing there at Perma Africa, for example. And so I'm thinking that facilitating those kinds of training visits is a very good way we can support each other, and we can invite each other into our communities, or if we have a training center. All of these things take resources. And as soon as we want to travel out, there's expenses, and there's transport, there's accommodation, and if we go and work with people, say in a refugee settlement, and we need some lunch, we need, whatever, there's always resources. So this is our reality. I've really enjoyed hearing what people were saying, and very much that we learn it by doing it to ourselves, to our family, and then to the community. And Deborah really has showed us a shining example there of how to do that. And then, so again, opening up edges and hubs, reaching out into community and starting off something that in time becomes an entity of its own, has a life of its own. This is what Paul has done at Homer Bay. He's reached out to at least 12 different villages or communities and trained people within them to start their own initiatives. So I think we've got a very interesting model to follow. And I think if we're going to think about how we might reach out and support our friends, our neighbors in the refugee settlements, is we need to have a plan, and it needs to have some resources attached to it. So that's what I was going to talk about next. So I thank you very much for everyone for the contributions. That's very illuminating. So it was good. And it took a little while to hear you, Deborah, but once we heard you, your voice was very clear. So yeah, just so you know, we heard you clearly. And I sent you a message as well earlier to Tapa, so we can talk about that another time. Okay.
Okay, so
Gerald, yeah.
Would you want us to have the break now for 10 minutes and then be back at 20 past?
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, see everyone in about 10 minutes. Okay, if let me know when you're back, and I will start again in a moment or two. Okay, well, it's 20 past now. It's a designated time, so I will carry on. We seem to have had a couple of drop-offs, though, which is a shame. All right. Okay, well, we can think about how we do this. So welcome back, everyone. Oh, dear. Sorry. Okay. So I put the training manual in there to remind you there's a resource that you might want to reference, and also, yeah, to open up that conversation about sharing our skills and knowledge of people in different places, and opening up edges, connections, ways in which we can learn and grow and share information. I've mentioned I've mentioned this Griffin project. Growing real food for nutrition. It's enterprise created in a community interest company, so a social enterprise created in the UK to link to farmers, growers around the world, especially those involved in permaculture, organic, regenerative, I think what they call natural farming. So the main thesis, the main idea behind this project is it's like a public science project, encourage people to think about the quality of the food that they're eating. You can join the organization. There's a bunch of information here, but excuse me. Basically, what they have learned is using this particular tool, squeezing the sap from a leaf, and then dropping, he's squeezing the sap out of a leaf that he's growing, and we're seeing a little drop of, here we go again, sorry, here we go, here's a little drop of sap. And he's dropping it onto this lens. A couple of drops of the plant juice, and close the slide. And then just allow the natural light to shine through it. And what that is revealing is the denser the nutrients in the sap of the plant, the healthier the plant, the more the light bends when it comes through the lens. And it gives you a reading between 0 and 30, and it tells you the percentage of sugar in the sap of the plant. And the higher that value, the higher the quality of your food is. It's more nutrient dense. What the project sets about to do is to collect the evidence and the data to see what's the correlation, what's the relationship between plants, food plants of high nutrient density and the soil that they're grown in. And the evidence that's coming back is that natural farming methods give you a much more nutrient dense food that also tastes better and lasts longer. So there are multiple benefits. What we suggest, what we think is that would be so interesting would be to begin to measure the quality of the food that people are growing who are using the permaculture methods. And we would like to think about how we could reach out through our permaculture network to begin to gain some of this information. And the primary way which we're going to do that is we just have one of these tools, so we have to start somewhere, and that's currently with our team in Rwanda. And we're going to do some research in Rwanda, and then we're going to bring this back to Uganda, and we're going to make it available to TAPA members and Butobala members to use it to tell us about the quality of the food you're growing. Now, obviously, this needs a bit of training and a bit of support to make it happen. But with data, if we can collect the evidence, understand slightly better the impact that we're having, then that puts us in a situation to go out and look for resources to do a follow-on project. So we've just come through a period, well, we've come through a very difficult period because of COVID-19, but since, for 3 years, Sector 39 had a small amount of money, which is what we used to develop the Academy and run some PDCs, do 2 or 3 visits out to Uganda. That's what's got us to this stage. And those funds are now all used up. And we're in a situation where we're looking to see what comes next. And the thing that has come out through discussions with the people behind this bricks measuring project with Griffin Network is they're also interested in permaculture and natural farming and working with edges, working with people and reaching vulnerable people. That's led us to look at a question is, could we build a vision? Could we use our PDC to create a vision which we could perhaps put into a funding bid and put it out there, and let's ask the universe, let's what can we do? So the UNHCR, that's the United Nations Conference on Refugees, has an innovation fund for projects which are refugee-led. That means defined and influenced by people who are in that position. And we have between now and the end of June to think about putting in an outline bid. So what could we win through doing such a bid? And the answer is they're offering financial support. $45,000 in funding to test and implement ideas with strong community approaches that generate value for community members, not specifically linked to any thematic area or technology. Just something that's going to create value for community members. They will offer program and project management support, so they'll help us run the project. They offer technical support, expertise, and coaching. Needs-based advice will be offered on topics ranging from technology to legal support, innovation, methodologies. Peer-to-peer networking. They will support us supported organizations will be encouraged to engage with each other, share experience, learn from each other, explore partnerships. There's your peer-to-peer networking. There's your edges. There's your branching dendritic patterns. We need to be thinking in these terms as we look at this way forward for us. Other support based on project needs. This would include organizational support, help with project sustainability and scale, training on specific topics, etc., media and communications. So the UNHCR could offer help under those 5 targets if we had a vision that met their needs. and met their goals. And we also want to create an idea that meets our needs and meets our goals. And we're interested in the overlap between those two ecosystems. That's what we would have to create. So the approach, we're told, is to achieve its objectives. The fund has adopted the following approach: to support forcibly displaced people to identify challenges and opportunities and develop solutions that can have lasting impact within their communities. These are exactly what Andre and January and various people have been saying to us. Provide a holistic support mechanism tailored to their requests, including financial support, mentorship, technical expertise across the innovation lifecycle. Connect disjointed, localized innovation by facilitating peer support, learning and sharing. Build evidence that proves the power of initiatives developed by forcibly displaced people, and use this to overcome barriers that prevent them from accessing resources. Okay, those are all quite big words, but let's think about the changes that we've been able to help people make through permaculture education, peer-to-peer learning, and then feedback mechanisms that let us collect and analyze the experience of doing that. So if were we to, I looked at the notes of this, and were we to want to apply to this as a group, we would have to be able to answer all of these questions. You don't have to be a formally registered organization to apply. They want a refugee-led partnership, but they especially like partnerships. So when I looked, I don't want it to be my idea, but what we have is Sector 39 as a training organisation with experience in peer-to-peer learning. We have demonstration and learning hubs built around many of our members, with Deborah, Simon, and also people like Carolyn that are doing work in refugee settlements and connecting there. We have many different examples. We have the Permo Africa Centre in Kenya as part of our network. There is the Butambala Learning Centre, part of our network. There's the Rwandans. And by linking with the local groups accreted from courses, TAPA and so forth, we've got quite an association of groups that could come together with Andre's commitment to start something in Kakuma, or with the various momentums that are there in Nachivali. Is there a coalition of interests that could come together? So could we, and wouldn't it be interesting to imagine what that group might look like and who might be members of it, and what would we call it? What would we call it? What would be our name? We'd need a contact person, someone who would be the front of house. Indicate the title of your organization's contact person. Please indicate your email address, phone number, all of this stuff. Okay, if applicable, what's your thing? What level of organization cover interest? Would we be interested in local, national, regional? In what country do we operate the most? This is all fairly straightforward in terms of leadership. Provide a brief description of the objectives and activities of your organization. And this would be, I guess, the visualization of building a support network that connects together pioneers within the refugee community with demonstration and learning hubs that those pioneering people could learn from, connect to, have the opportunity to visit, build nurseries, exchange plants and seeds. I don't know. A brief description of your organization, and then I've got different sectors: water and sanitation, health, education, livelihoods, child protection, gender-based violence, environment and energy. How long would it go on for? The country where you're planning to implement your project, would we just be in one country? Please describe the challenge or problem you are trying to address with your project or solution. Describe it in simple words as you would to a friend. So we'd have to come up with answers to these questions and to trim the words down and get it kind of clever. Please describe your ideal solution to the problem identified above. So we have to be very clearly identify the problem we're addressing. How do we know it's a problem? How are we addressing it? How is our idea or solution innovative? If we were successful, who would it be useful for? What's your budget? Do you plan to partner or collaborate with other organizations or entities to implement your project? Yes. How did you find out about this fund? Would we share our name with other people? And a question about data protection. So this is an initial interest form, not too scary to fill in. There's no...
Thanks for calling video.
Yeah. So anyway, so I thought that to make ourselves think about something very focused that might come out of this work that we're doing together. And there's to say that there's a meeting planned for Friday for between Matthew from Griffin, and the people who are African partners who are interested in contributing to their project. So they also thought that they would look at this form and see whether there was a fund that we could apply for. So it might be that it would be very wise for us to partner with Griffin as part of our partnership, and to look at specifically what we're doing I don't know, but the whole thing with the refractometer, with measuring bricks values, is it gives you data that you can then actually have a measurement of not just you've improved the availability of food, but also the quality of the nutrition, the quality of the soil, and then we can infer from that the longer, wider environmental benefit. So in my mind, all of these elements kind of come together. We're an education and training network. We've set up demonstration hubs and sites. We've built a network of pioneer teachers and community kind of leaders. Those people are learning very useful skills. And we're learning how to maintain a dialogue with those people and to remain kind of connected. And in the process of doing that, we're coming into contact with lots of refugee people, and we are beginning to see the value and in those people and the potential enormous contribution that they could make, firstly in their own communities, but maybe as kind of climate leaders, because there's going to be people from within those refugee populations that are kind of leading the way for the rest of the world. And I think that's that's the vision, and I looked at that's somehow what I started to see in that, and I saw that perhaps that vision might be something that is unifying. Maybe. What do you think, guys? Can we use this model as a visionary tool to ask ourselves, can we see ourselves as a unifying with a common goal? And that, can we come together around permaculture ethics and values? Can we say, the process, our proposal is, we have a group of people who are coming together through experience, working, studying, sharing together, to create a common kind of vision based on values. And from that come our long-term goal, which is to spread the benefits of permaculture far and wide into the world, in a way in which it can grow very quickly, can have a life of its own. We don't want to own it or control it, we want to set it in motion. If we had some funds and resources as a group, we could then think about how we might use those. But to do that, the next thing we'd think about would be, what are our strategies? What's the actual plan to achieve these long-term goals? Okay, we want to get permaculture out there. We need a strategy for managing the education function, managing the feedback function. We're going to need to have a strong learner network or teacher support network. So we need to build strategies around those things. We need to have an interface into our target areas, including refugee settlements. So if those are our strategies, we've got to break those down into then what are the activities, what are the building blocks that will build our training network or build our learner support network, the things that we've identified here. And can we arrange those activities onto a timeline? Which ones, which order would we do them? What would be our priority, etc. And then when we've thought about the goals, the strategies, we've broken those into activities, we can then look at the resource pot, in this case $45,000, and think, how would we allocate that to each one of the activities, and we break those down and create a little budget for each one. We've got to have bioregional organizational chart. We've got our sort of consensus model here that we're looking at. I'm sort of feeling like these are tools that we could use to visualize how our network might go forward, and also how we might create a common vision, and then have a very clear ask. These are the resources that we need, and we know what the resources we need because we've answered every step of that journey that breaks that down. If someone just said to us, hey, here's $45,000, we'd all start arguing about, well, I want that some, and I want some, and ooh, I deserve it more than you. And next thing you know, we'd have mayhem. So we have to do it the other way around. And we have to start by standing on the firm ground of that common value, that common commitment, that we, ask ourselves, do we have that? Is that there? Because if it isn't there, we can't build the network. We're not going to be strong enough. We've got to be unwavering in our kind of foundation stone. Yes. Okay. So shame we've obviously we're recording this, and Caroline will probably catch us later. I'm gonna just, here we go. Stop share for a moment. Oh yeah, okay. Caroline, is that? Sorry, I just couldn't see. Okay, cool, great. Any thoughts on what I all just said? And Gerald, if you could help summarize, maybe make sure I've come across understandably, and just to hear a few thoughts.
Yes, Steve. By the way, sorry about the noise feedback. I'm using a different machine and it's proving to be chaotic. So apologies for the feedback and the mics sometimes being erratic. I think it's so brilliant. We couldn't say it any further. And yes, we can work around different options or create lots of synchronicity, like different synergies, support the teams, and it would be really interesting to support some of our teams to take on that application. Because when I quickly read through it, or when I quickly ran through it, they are encouraging indigenous or refugee-led organizations to take the lead. So basically our presence, or as Sector 39, we would basically give you a supportive role or be in the background. It's good to mention it that yes, we are collaborating, we're working together, we can then share from a capacity building point of view, but then, and maybe also give sort of a recommendation that we are aware of your potentials, but then you have the mantle at the forefront. And I think that's one of the first checkpoints they want to use to see that indeed is a refugee-led kind of initiative. And it's interesting that they are also slightly flexible with the nature of the registration. At some point, they are also accepting groups as long as it's formally registered. So that's the beauty with it. It would be good to guide you or to organize a session to probably run through it with as a team, or to run through some of those bits and pieces. It's good that we have the different aspects. Steve, very technical. Stella is good with project monitoring and evaluation. And maybe I can give a hand on the bit to do with budgeting and financing. So we can really create that sort of synergy. And also, if I'm to say, it really fits into our objective as Sector 39 Academy, because we are looking at how do we build grassroots momentum? How do we build capacity for people to be their own leaders, to take it on? All right, over to you, Steve, unless we have anyone with a question or contribution.
Yeah, I'm very keen to hear just people's thoughts. But one of the things I've wrestled with is, on a PDC, we need to come together to work on a design and to have something that we've contributed towards using the ideas and the principles that we've been learning about on the PDC. And I think as much as you're doing your own work in your own place, and really excited to see people's photos coming in on WhatsApp, and we'll comment on them, and We want to see what you're doing. But let's maybe use this process as a collaboration to be a design that we've created working together. And to think about how, as a network of, because the target beneficiaries are refugee community people, displaced people. And we talked a lot already about how we can see how important that is to create learning, to support those people. So who are the best teachers? It's people like Deborah, it's people like Caroline, Simon, and people who are within that permaculture community in the host nation. You've now got skills and knowledge and insights which can then feed into the learning of those people in the settlements and help connect them perhaps to Uganda, a new country for some people. And then you have the support and the networking of Sector 39 Academy to connect you to other places and other people, and for us to somehow share that learning. And so I see an interesting partnership, a cooperative partnership of some kind, where we each come together as our own selves, our own organizations, but we contribute to this greater whole, which is to create a project that's defined and led by, the end of the day, the long-term beneficiaries being the displaced people. And we might learn in that process how to help, teach, facilitate, contribute, maybe help propagate plants, develop seed savings, all sorts of other micro enterprises that might fit into that. Because this isn't something that's going to go away, it's going to be ongoing. And there's going to be flushes of displaced people, and that's what's, that's how it's going to be. So there's a whole ecosystem to be explored, how we can work usefully and creatively in that environment. Yeah. Think about how we could, each of us, in the same way as a football team, we've got very different roles. The goalkeeper, the striker, the guy does the kit, the person who makes the sandwiches, will contribute in different ways. That's my thought. And anything else from the group? Thank you, Simon. Yes.
Yes. Now, perhaps the form that you have just displayed on the screen, I, as a person of permaculture, I really need us to go in for that, because it will give us a very good grip on the background, whereby we will be known by even those internally displaced people, and it will really give us a great value to the communities. So we really need to see how we can drop in our application for that form, and then you, as the principal, would be the one to back on what you would be the one to back on behalf of those groups, and then we see how basically skills can be delivered to those people, and then we will be in position to go in for that application. I think it is good for us to go in for that application. No problem there. Work would be there. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that, and thank you for the support. I think, I mean, nothing ventured, nothing gained. There's no real downside. I want to try and use it as a tool to get us to think about how we might collaborate better, and that helps us develop our academy idea, and it helps support you as permaculture learners and teachers and conveyors of that information. So it makes sense to me, and yet we can very much hold that space. I think that's what Sector 39 can do, and help bring together these constituent parts, because I think we've all got something to offer. And a question might be, is that the Academy, us coming together, or are we creating a new organism that is our collaboration? There's our thought, there's a thought, but it's some kind of a collaborative permaculture framework that we can then invite people to be part of, including ourselves, but then also, you know, the people, our refugee partners as well. Hello. So, there's a visit from the kitten.
Yes, Steve.
Yeah.
Actually, I think this brings in another conversation which would be interesting. How about doing the collaborative kind of learning, or the kind of project that we were thinking about, where we're going to get the learnings from northern Uganda, Maji and Bidibidi, and then transpose the same to Nachivari and Kakuma. But then now at this point, we go in as the academy, but with the forefront of our brothers or the beneficiaries who are in those actual settlements. So in other words, we'll get the best practicing people like Abale from Maji or from Bidibidi to go down to Nachivari to train others using their learning and also lessons learned from the trainings we've done previously. So they are still at the forefront. We are at the back end of it, but they are taking on the mantle themselves.
That's actually a very good point, is to draw obviously on some of the people from 2018 and show that continuity. Because otherwise, yeah, why are we proposing this? But that can connect right through. And that's what inspired us to create so in 2018, we did the 6-month training in West Nile with the refugees, and in 2019 we didn't know what to do next. And in 2019, Gerald came to the UK and he stayed with me for 3 months, and we spent some time having this kind of conversation. And that was when we wrote the bid for the Academy of Permaculture. And that was from a period from the 1st of January 2020 until now. And that's what I was trying to explain this in my message to you, Deborah, but that's what has got us this far. We did the Happy Home Kumi PDC. We've done the Rwanda PDC. We've done a lot of work with Kenya and with Paul, and also Ali's Butambala has come from that. Through the first PDC came Tapa, and then all your local groups in Teso. So, and then that's when the money's run out, and we're left going, so that, hello, come in. Oh, come and say hello. I'm getting harassed by this little thing. There we go. So, yes, that's how we got here. So from that thinking and planning that we did 3 years ago, that's then created this chain of events, which has now brought us to doing this PDC now, and our collaboration with Matthew and with Griffin. And so these feel like the jigsaw pieces for the next phase of what we're doing. And I don't know if Stella wants to contribute a little bit as well, because Stella met with Matthew yesterday. Was it yesterday? We had a little meeting on the other day and talked a bit about this bricks testing. And I think that that's an element in our design as well. It's the data collection and evidence part of it. Yes. Stella, any thoughts from you? I don't know if you're able to contribute from where you're at, but your impressions from Matthew and the Griffin thing. No, I'm just seeing Shanaz's comment as well. Thank you, Shanaz. She's saying there's a strong permaculture network here in Kent, and our community garden here is now being run according to permaculture principles. The bed size is being reduced, since I saw it, and 7 miles up the road, there's another permaculture hub. Yes, there was a local refugee group which is now disbanded, supporting people in Kenya. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Shanaz. She's just popped off, so thank you for that contribution. Yeah, so it's about connecting on with what's going around us, and then using that to build our sort of wider network, I guess. Stella, any thoughts from you? Just if you're able to. Don't worry if not. Whatever it is that we do, it's got to work for all of us in our own situation, and not just be some crazy thing that we're only doing because there's a chance of getting some money out of it. That's always the wrong way to do it. So again, that's why I showed the model about think about the ethics, think about our long-term goals, and then think about how we break that down into individual strategies and contributions. And so then there'd be a very clear role for certain people to fulfill those functions that we've identified. We lost Stella, so yeah. So that's what I've got to say on that, really. Okay, if we've got no, I've kind of said what I came to say. So and I don't know, it's quite hard to work through perhaps that format with some of those questions, but I think that's going to be the homework for the week, and it's use the WhatsApp group. And so if we haven't joined everyone onto it, I'm just still getting better at doing that as well. And let's try and then think about this partnership. Who would we invite in our cluster, and begin to think about what the objectives of the group would be and what problem it is that we're addressing. There were some very specific questions on that form, so that's where we would be going. And firstly, we could treat it as an academic learning exercise, but we're also going to really submit this bid in a real way, and we're going to use it as a tool to build our partnership, to expand our edges, to connect with the Griffin network and their connections. And they've just done a big piece of research in India with a whole bunch of farmers in Andhra Pradesh. So we'll benefit a lot by making these connections and reaching out in this way. And we're going to tap into the knowledge and experience of what we've had from before, and we're going to use that to inform us of how we're going to go forward. So there we go. There's edges and the marginal. I've given you some general patterns. I've given you the drawings and diagrams, the concepts, but then I've also asked you to really think about the own edges and boundaries and interfaces and connections around you. I've asked you to think about people networks, information networks, and think about how we can take all of these understandings into how we build a wider two-way support network between us, but one that also can learn through feedback. So we need to find clever ways in which people can share their experiences of doing permaculture in their circumstances. Oh yeah, okay. Anyone got anything else they'd like to contribute or question to ask? A little bit early this week, but I think we've kind of covered it. So let's keep thinking along those lines. Thank you everyone for your attention and your contributions this week. They're really, really valuable. And I'm going to be asking us all to think more specifically about these questions that we've asked, and to think about how we develop our training network up to the next level. And if we can win resources, let's think about how we can use that to really strengthen and reinforce the network so that it can grow and develop. And Gerald and myself and Stella will hold that space. We're looking to you for your contributions, for your ideas and your thoughts. What we're also learning, and I could direct this point to you, Deborah, but it's true for everyone, and it's true for there'll be whatever it is that's going on with people we trained in 2018. Is what I'm learning is we need to keep investing into the groups to make them feel connected and to share information so that people understand where we're at and the decisions that we're making. And it's very easy, especially with limited communications, for some people to feel left out. Well, I haven't got a phone, or I haven't got the data to access the lesson. I feel excluded, or whatever that might be happening. Is we've got to be really aware of that. So we've got to keep communicating back to our groups to make sure that people understand where we're at, and they still feel, that they haven't been forgotten or dropped off. And what I'm aware of is there's quite a lot of people that reach out to me, social media and WhatsApp and what have you, and we have a short exchange. Hello, I'm in Cameroon. Hello, I'm in Malawi. We need to do something here. And I don't quite know how to carry that on, but it's clear that there's people out there looking for that. And I think that through our training network, we're going to increasingly be able to involve those people in remote learning, starting their own hubs and local groups. And we're all going to be able to contribute to that going forward so that we can help spread the knowledge and involvement of permaculture and far and wide as quickly as it needs to grow. Okay, that's my closing thought for the week. So I'm going to say thank you very much, everybody. And let's leave a space for anyone who wants to say good evening. Otherwise, we shall see you all next week for lesson 22, and I'll be putting notes on the WhatsApp chat specifically around these questions. And do give me feedback. If you don't like this idea, tell me as well. But I think that it's well worth our attention.
Thanks, Steve.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody.
Good night,
Bye-bye, everyone.
Good night.
As usual, it will.
Good night, Caroline.
Bye-bye.
Jagwe akwara na jokan.
A day joke.
Yeah. Good night, everyone. It's been a good session. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.